Next is the Tyndale Bible. William Tyndale is a personal favorite of mine. Why? Because he contributed so much to not only the English Bible, but also the English language. Yet I never heard his name mentioned in 12 years of public school or 4 years of college. He holds the distinction of being the first man to ever print the New Testament in the English language. Tyndale enrolled at Oxford in 1505 and grew up in the university. He received his master's degree in 1515 at the age of 21 and proved to be a gifted linguist. One of Tyndale's associates commented that Tyndale was so skilled in 8 languages, Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Spanish, French, Italian, English, and German, that whichever he speaks you might think it is his native tongue. This gift undoubtedly aided him in his successful evasion of the authorities during his years of exile from England. Having become attached to the doctrines of the Reformation, Tyndale devoted himself to the study of the Scriptures. His preaching and disputes with the Roman Catholic dignitaries created much opposition. A clergyman entrenched in Roman Catholic dogma once taunted Tyndale with the statement, "We are better to be without God's laws than the Pope's." Tyndale was infuriated by such Roman Catholic heresies and replied, "I defy the Pope and all his laws. If God spare my life ere many years, I will cause the boy that drives the plow to know more of the Scriptures than you." In 1522, Tyndale illegally acquired a copy of Martin Luther's German New Testament. He was inspired by Luther's work and immediately set out to imitate Luther's work, but in English. Unable to do so in England, he set out for the continent. That was about May 1524, and appears to have visited Hamburg and Wittenberg. Some sources claim that the place where he translated the New Testament with the aid of Martin Luther and his associates is thought to have been Wittenberg. Other sources claim that the printing of his English New Testament was begun in Cologne in the summer of 1525 and completed in Worms in 1526. While there was some disagreement on the exact place of the translation, sources do agree that William Tyndale's translation of the New Testament appeared sometime in the 1525-1526, with his translation of the Pentateuch in 1530 and Jonah in 1531. 2 revised versions were later published in 1534 and 1536. After his death in 1536, Tyndale's works were revised and reprinted numerous times. Much of Tyndale's work can be seen in other more modern versions of the Bible, especially that of the King James Bible. Since many of the phrases Tyndale coined are still in our language today, he is frequently referred to as the architect of the English language, even more so than William Shakespeare. One estimation suggests that the King James New Testament is 83.7% Tyndale's and the Old Testament is 75.7% Tyndale's. Tyndale was betrayed by a friend, arrested, and imprisoned in the castle of Vilvoorde for over 500 days under horrible conditions. During his imprisonment, he wrote a letter in Latin to the governor of Vilvoorde asking him for some warmer clothes, a lamp, and most of all for the Hebrew Bible, Hebrew grammar, and Hebrew dictionary, that I may pass the time in that study. He was tried for heresy and treason, and the date of the execution was set for October 6, 1536. Tyndale was then strangled and burned at the stake in the prison yard. His last words were, "Lord, open the King of England's eyes." This prayer was answered just 3 years later in the publication of King Henry VIII, 1539, Great Bible. The woodcut of Tyndale's martyrdom shown on the information board is the same as that shown in the 2nd volume of Fox's Book of Martyrs. On display in the exhibit are 2 New Testament facsimiles, one from 1526 and one from 1536. Also on display are 2 genuine leaves from a 1552 edition of Tyndale's New Testament. The 1552 leaves were printed by Richard Jugg, who is credited with the invention of the footnote. Tyndale's legacy is that his words live on through the pages of the King James Bible. Here is a partial list of the many of the sound words, phrases, and verses introduced by Tyndale and incorporated into the text of the King James Bible. How much did your Bible cost? It cost William Tyndale his life.